It's really not about you hearing me. That's not important. But if you could hear words from God, that's where the difference is made. We got a group all the way from Andrews. We're proud to have y'all our services this morning. Thank you for being here. God bless you much. In Exodus, I said Genesis, but it's in Exodus chapter 2. I just missed it one book. Exodus chapter 2, we're going to start reading in verse number 1. And there went out a man of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. He could tell the difference between the men and the women. I love when you shout now. There's some people lost that ability. Oh my, you're shouting. I thought somebody had really come on now. And the woman, that's what the Bible said. Oh, but I can tell you're already ahead of me a little bit. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw, she couldn't tell what he was. Oh. When she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. I wonder who told her that it was a him. Oh. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags of the river's brink. And his sister, are you still out there? Stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on, not only his mama could tell what he was, but this is the first time she's ever seen him, and she could tell it was a him. And said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister, she's been sitting out there in the brush watching to see what's going to happen to her baby brother. Then said his sister, this would be Miriam, later on we find out what her name is. Then said his sister to him, to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? You notice she didn't get his daddy. She could tell too. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's. This is Mother's Day. And this is one good mama right here. Wow. She went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away. You talk about one happy mama. That the daughter of Pharaoh finds her son down by the river Nile and picks him up and says to his sister, go get somebody to feed this baby for me. And she goes and gets his mother. Don't you know his mom was happy to see that woman come and say, could you take care of this child for me? How many moms we got here today? Whoa! Don't you know the spirit of mama come on right there? Woo! Take this child away and nurse it for me. And it's like, this is Jochebed, that's her name. We find that out later too in the scriptures. But whoa, can you imagine what sense that was in her spirit? Because all the children, they could tell the difference in them back then, were supposed to be killed. And all the girl children were to be kept. They was going to use them as slaves, but the boys were so rambunctious and said, we got to get them put out. Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. Can you imagine being paid to raise your own son? How many can say son with me? S-O-N, son. And the woman took the child and nursed it. Woo! And the child grew. You better know that. Man alive. And she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. Lord, would you take your word today? We're asking you, Lord, to give us grace and honor for the mothers of today, Lord, and for your word, and how you so gracefully speak into our spirits the righteousness of Christ. We thank you for that now in the name of Jesus. And everyone said, amen. I want to talk to you just a little bit this morning about the thought of a mother being on call. When I was just a kid, I heard an old song, and it stuck with me till I married and had my own children. But the song, I don't remember the name of it. But the song said something like this. I come home in the evening and I'm all tired out, and to see my baby just makes me want to shout. But when I lay down to sleep, that little bitty baby, he begins to weep, and I've got the rockabye baby blues. I stumble through the dark, I can't find the light. What makes him want to cry in the middle of the night? As a new father, it seems kind of strange when mama says, your baby needs a change. And I got the rockabye baby blues. Let me tell you, it's so wonderful that a mother has got an instinct that's uncommon. It's not like a man's. A man's different. Yeah, a man is different. Before I got up, I might have heard it, but it was muffled with these snoozes. But the second that baby cried out, guess who bounced up out of the bed? Yeah. How many mamas has ever sensed that before? I see them hands going up. Yeah. You're kind of on call. It don't matter day or night, and it never quits. My mom, I saw her yesterday. She's 94, and she greeted me with a big old smile on her face. What are you doing up here? She sent me or she called me yesterday. We was gathering bulls, and if it hadn't been my mom, I wouldn't have answered the phone. I mean, we had 28 bulls in the pen, and they're running everywhere and fighting, and I'm horseback, and I'm like, whoa, mama, this is not a good time. But I said, well, y'all may not have a mama, but I answered my mama. She taught me something when I was just a kid. Come on now. I said, okay, Mom, how can I help you? She said, now my birthday was just the 17th of April. Don't do nothing for me for Mother's Day. And she said, I can hear you're working. That's all I got to say. Bye. But I just want to tell you that didn't change what I did for my mama, because there's just Mother's Day just comes one time a year. If it'd been on the same day that mama, her birthday was the same day as Mother's Day, what has that got to do with eggs in China? Nothing. Yeah. So one of the things that I see out of this and this is verse 8 that I want to talk to you about. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go, and the maid went and called the child's mother. There was a reason. That mother for that child has an affinity or a drive or a recognition. You say, it's really not that much. Well, I want to tell you something. You can take 2,000 ewes. We had 3,500 on the ranch that I run down between Blackville and Marion. You could take 2,000 ewes, strip their lambs off of them. A lot of those ewes have 2 lambs. Work the lambs and turn them all back out. And every one of them sounds like the same one. And what is so crazy in a little bit, them little old lambs, I mean that tall, they're over there sucking their own mama. And that mama's calling to them. You can do cattle the same way. You strip the calves off, work the calves, turn them back out, and I mean, you hear this, they all sound the same to me. Moo, brr. Yeah, they're calling. Guess what? In a little bit, that baby gravitates over there to his own mama. Wow. Isn't that incredible? And friend, if the human says they don't have that sense, it's because the devil has messed with the mind. What woman out there can say that's got a child that's got her right mind, that can say, my children don't mean nothing to me. Are you kin to an ostrich? That's the only one confirmed in the Bible that lays her eggs and then breaks them, walking all over them. And I know there's a crazy world just outside the doors, but the book hadn't changed. He built mamas for a reason. And friends, they ain't like no daddy. A daddy, there's a lot he can do, but he can't have kids. Can't nurse them. But mama can. Yeah. And some daddies can't change diapers, but mama can. I don't know where you come from, but I was working in the feedlot when our first one was born, and I told Mama, man, I'd come in with that cow salve all over me. And I told Connie, I said, baby, it may seem crazy to you, but I'm working in cow mess all day, and to come home and do a dirty diaper, I ain't got it. Please forgive me. But if you can, and baby, let me tell you, my heart is out to you this morning. Woo! I'm thanking God for mama, not just for the, yeah, but there's some, woo, man, what mamas take care of is incredible. You should be shouting, sir. Anybody can raise Marcus, that's a tough goal. And I look at, anybody can raise Danny or Weldon. How'd we get there? Somebody helped us, didn't they? And so, the first thought that comes to me out of this passage is the protection. If you're talking about a mother on call, she hides this baby for 3 months with the king's demand that every child that is born, when he's born when he's born a boy, and you can tell what he is, matad, killing, right there. When he's born and he's a boy, kill him. And this mama looked at her baby and says, I don't know what the rest of them do, but this baby is importante. This is a good one. And no way. And so she hides him for 3 months at the house. But you know, there's people coming by all the time, and if they hear a baby crying and they figure out that that's not a man, that that's not a girl, but that's a boy, they're going to kill the mom and dad for breaking the king's orders, and they're going to take that child's life. And friends, it was a normal thing in China. It's still happening. You have more than 2 children. Okay, I can tell you've already messed up. But okay, we'll go back to the story then. Yeah. Can you believe people still act like that today? Something's broke, isn't it? This mama risked her life, and her dad, her husband, believed in it too, enough that they hung on to this baby. Somehow, God, give us a way to raise this child that has no hope where we're living. The king's command is kill. It's in the scripture, it's there. You kill them boys. So this godly instinct. And something about this mother that really touches me is her ability to adapt and still provide. She really has no ownership of this child, but still she raises him where the gates of hell can't prevail against him. Woo! So the first thought I want you to think about is this mother provided protection. She didn't leave him in the dumpster. She didn't haul him down to the sheriff's office or the police station and leave him on the front porch. Friends, she allowed that dynamic given to her by God, that motherly instinct that says if a cow knows which calf is hers and a sheep, a ewe knows which lamb is hers, you better know that you mother should know who your child is and protect it accordingly. Our mothers need help today to look their family over and say, we're going to be a protector, and we're going to do it by God's name and will. So she provided godly protection, a godly instinct. My dad was plowing one day in this little kildee. How many knows a kildee? You know, they're about that tall, and their little old legs look like a toothpick. And he's plowing with a 9-row bar, plowing beds. And this little killdeer has laid her eggs and got some little chicks right in the row. Back then, this is back in the 70s, he's driving a 4630 John Deere with duals on it, and had that 9-row rig. And I mean, he's like in 5th gear, plowing the beds out where we can plant. And he runs on to this little old killdeer. And so whenever he gets up there close to her, and she's right in front of this 9-row bar in the tractor, this little old killdeer, she stands up and does like this to Daddy. What is that to a 4630 and a 9-row bar and a man that weighs better than 200 pounds? What does a killdeer mean? But this little killdeer trying to save her babies so touched my dad's heart that he idled the tractor down, picked the plow up, picked up both sides of that bar and backed it up, and he drives out over his beds, and he goes around that little killdeer, and he backs back up there, not too close, he's afraid she's going to jump on him, but he lets his plows back down, lets the wings on that bar down, and idles the old tractor up and lets the clutch out. And he let that little killdeer raise her babies. Now, if she didn't care, he wouldn't have cared. But when he got close and she rose up and said, over my dead body, oh God, put some of the God-given drive back into the mamas of today that says, I'm going to protect them, so help me God. And friends, they may get big enough, you can't do anything with them, but they can't keep you from praying and believing God. I don't care how rough they are. Keep praying and believing God. God does something. He changes people's lives when mothers pray and say, God called me as a protector. I don't want my children to end up in hell, so I'm going to ring the doorbell up yonder every day. God, somehow reach out and touch my child today that's lost, that's not living for you. You called me as a protector, and I'm going to reach out and touch them. I'm going to touch them through the power of God. They don't like me. They don't like what I say, but that's all right. I'm their mama. The little old killdeer said, no, we was here before you. God sent us. What makes you think you can plow up my kids? Woo! Don't you want that spirit back in your heart? And Lord, help me. Help me. In verse 2, she recognizes, we'll just look at about 5 or 6 things here that's real neat. She recognized his goodliness. She recognized him as a goodly child. Whoa. Man, I've seen mamas that had ugly babies. Babies, when they're born, are not always real pretty. And sometimes they end up like me and they still don't look good. But that baby get that little old, that mama, that baby looked rough as a cob to me, and she got that little old baby up there and said, woo. Isn't it precious? Isn't it precious? What she said, I'm protecting, this is a goodly child. Don't make no difference what the rest of them say. No, this is my baby. Woo! Mama, where is that drive in 2022 in your spirit that I don't care what they say. This is the one God gave me. And so help me God, I'm going to protect them as long as they got breath in their body. Woo! I'm trusting the Lord. My dad talked about, and his mama, whenever my dad, he was the first one of 9 boys to go to World War II. He was drafted. And my granny, which is Granny Williams, his mother, stayed on her knees till he got back. And that was her prayer. Lord, I know the war's got to be fought. And my boy, he went when he was 18 years old to Germany and fought right there in that, I don't remember the name of the forest right now. I had it down for a while. Fought all the way up to the capital of Germany, Berlin. House to house fighting. He could have been killed as a second gunner on a 30 caliber machine gun, but there was somebody back in Snyder, Texas on their knees saying, Lord, that boy ain't got a chance if you don't reach out. You talk about the power of protection. Friends, I just want to tell you that prayer has got the power to protect your family. Don't give up on them. Don't throw the towel in and say, well, that's just the way this generation is. That's a lie from the pits of hell. This generation is just like every other generation. They're lost till they get found, and Jesus is the founder. You take your children to the throne of grace. You pray through till you speak in other tongues as the power of God gives the utterance deliverance. And all of a sudden, the bells of heaven are ringing, and God's got his hand on that runaway boy, that runaway girl, and he said, you come back here. You know what I told them people, if they'll raise you up right, that something's going to happen. When they're old, they won't be able to get away from the voice of that mama that cried out to God for them. No, we're talking about a spirit of protection. God, let it one more time come from a backslidden church that's found its way back to the altar. And we recognize there ain't help nowhere else, but I know where God is. Friends, prison's not going to fix your boy or girl. Neither is the halfway house. I'm not against those things. They're there for a reason. But if you want to know what fixed trouble, that's Jesus. You get your son or daughter to Christ, all of the brokenness is fixed, and there's renewal and refreshing, and there's joy. She recognized him as a goodly child. On down in verse number 2, I like this. She hid him. Wow. My dad had a milk cow. Her name was Buttermilk. She was a black cow with white spots on her. She's the one I milked every day before I went to school. Randy milked the one called Hessa. She was white with black spots. And this cow, it didn't matter what kind of fence, and we didn't have pipe corrals then. We just had a wooden 6-plank fence. And this cow would get out every time she got ready to have her baby, and she'd leave. And I'll never forget, Dad told me I was about 9. He said, well, Buttermilk's left. He said, I know she's come fresh. She's got her baby hid somewhere, and said, I want you to go find her. Well, I'd looked for her before. I mean, you could look all day long, couldn't find her. She hid good. And so we had a tower just about 200 yards east of our house, a radio tower. It's sitting over on the Roby Highway now. And that tower, 280 foot tall. So I crawled up there to the halfway mark where the double lights are that blink. And I looked out like I was in an airplane. And I looked around, and a little bit I found a black speck away over there in another man's pasture, hid in the tall grass. She had hid her baby from Bear Williams. But she couldn't hide from the airplane. Look, I got up high enough I could see her. And friends, the Lord knows where your child is this morning. Yeah, maybe hid from us, but it's never hid from him. Man, I caught my little mare, trotted over, I knew right where to go. Picked her up, drove her home, brought the baby, and Daddy's happy, and I was happy. And it didn't take 2 days to get it done. Wow. What about praying for your children? I've got protection for them. Yeah, she hid him 3 months. She couldn't hide him no more, so she takes him down there. She reaches an impasse, but would not give up. When she says, I can't hide this baby no longer, something's got to be done, she starts weaving a basket for him. Lord, I don't know how this is going to go. How many's ever heard of Nile crocodiles? Can you imagine putting your baby in a little deal like that and leaving him by the side of the Nile River? Friends, those crocodiles are meaner than alligators from what they tell me. Yeah, they can smell stuff. You think they couldn't smell or hear that baby crying? She's got him. Well, she must have built a good basket. It wasn't Noah that built that ark. That was Jochebed. And it was her ark of safety for that baby. And you know that she laid her hand on that baby. Lord, they're going to kill me if I keep this baby here any longer, but there's got to be a way. She didn't give up. And that's the word here is don't give up on your children's hope. Friends, hang in there. Mamas, hang in there. When you reach the impasse, do what God says. She builds an ark in verse number 3 for him. In verse number 3 also, she hides him at the river's brink, in the reeds, the cattails, the flags. In verse number 4, she sets a watch. She can't stay out there herself. They would be easily seen, but a child playing around, they wouldn't think nothing of that. So she sends Miriam, his older sister, and she's watching at a distance to see what's going to happen. She sets a watch for him. How many times have you said, hey, I can't be there. Would you watch over my child while they're there? Yeah. It's important. No, you got somebody that can help you. She hides him at the river's brink. She sets a watch. And then in verse Number 9, she unselfishly raised him for another woman. That would really seem almost impossible. We loved our kids so much. We've seldom left them around with anybody. We just, not that we didn't trust other people, but they belonged to us, and God called us to raise them. So we wanted to raise them in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Man, but this mama became a surrogate mother, and she raised Moses until she weaned him. I don't know if it was 3, 4, 5, how long that she kept him there, but she kept him, and then it come a time when she had to turn him loose physically, but not in here. Oh boy. The second thing out of this passage I'd like for us to look at is verse number 10. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter. That's a tough go. But in this process, friends, as long as she had him, she did something to him. She provided guidance. Not only did she protect him, but secondly, she provided guidance for him. You remember the Bible says that you're going to hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way." Wow, this is the way. I was talking to a gentleman one time. He's passed now, Frank Beaver. And he told me, I was talking to him about the Lord, and he said, my mama told me something like that. And you know what the scripture that he remembered was? This is it. If you gain the whole world and lose your soul, what have you? What have you done? And she put the importance on knowing Christ as your Savior. And whenever he's in his 90s, guess what? From his mother's grave still comes those words into that man's spirit, because that mother, she done something. She provided some guidance, and he was the first one to say he hadn't followed it very well. But the man come to know the Lord before he passed. But I'm just telling you that what happens, Mama, if you stay straight and you live for God, you're going to have an impact on your children that the gates of hell cannot stop. Don't throw the towel in just because their orneries all get out. Just say, "Lord, bring them around. Turn them." Man, I don't know how Mama prayed. I mean, I remember, I remember I can't say for my brothers completely, but I know where I was at, and it wasn't good. But I know there never was a day that Mama wouldn't, "Lord, if it takes a 2x4, bring him back." Provide guidance. The child grew, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. Life never deals an even hand. And whenever you raising your children, you're going to look around and say, "Well, this is not a perfect world to raise children in." Help me? You think it was a perfect world when she had to give her baby up as quick as she weaned him to another woman that does not believe in Jehovah God as being the only God, that does not believe in the covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, that has no idea that there's a promised land out there, that they're going to leave Egypt and go to the promised land? But somewhere she provided so much guidance in this young man's life that he didn't get off course too far. Not so far that God couldn't bring him back to his original intended use. He's out of her hands at this moment. She's gave him to be another woman's child. But that baby had some guidance from that mama that stuck in his heart. Life never deals an even hand, but this mother, she smoothed the transition for her son. This is the way it has to be. We believe God is watching over you. And friends, that come out of Jochebed's way. You can look at Moses and what he says later on. Mama saying, I can't control this thing right now, but I can tell you that God's in control. And if you'll stay with the Lord, he's going to help you get through this storm in your life. Mama, don't give up. Hang in there. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse number 14. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, and notice this word, and do what to the house? Guide the house. Give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. Hang on to your children. Raise them in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, and keep praying for them even when they're wild and teenagers, whatever happens. God, we ain't giving up. We're trusting that your guidance will reach out there. give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. In 1 Samuel chapter 1 and verse number 24, here's a mother that's guided, or here's a young man that's guided by his mother, and he worships before the Lord. I think this is so awesome. This is the woman, Hannah, that could not have children, and she prayed, God, please give me a child. And if you do give me a child, I will give him to the Lord. Now, this is an uncommon prayer for today's world. Today's world says, blessed are the paps that never give suck, and the womb that's barren. Our world today does not love children. They don't want children. They think they're well, who raised you, buddy? And mama, if you're alive, somebody raised you. Shouldn't there be some concern in our spirit for the ones that we're, okay, I don't want to be hard, but I do want you to, I want to jerk the scab off long enough for you to say, hey, we can do better. Yes. So here in verse number 24, she brings this little boy that's given to her by God. His name is Samuel. And when she had weaned him, she took him up to her with 3 bullocks and 1 ephah of flour and a bottle of wine, and brought him into the house of the Lord in Shiloh, and the child was young. And they slew a bullock and brought the child to Eli. And she said, oh my Lord, this was her prayer months before this baby, years before he was born. She said, oh my Lord, she's talking to Levi, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here praying unto the Lord. And notice what he says, for this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition, which I ask of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. And notice how long? As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And the baby, look at this here. That's what I get from this. This young boy so understands this transition by his mother's guidance that he worshiped the Lord there. Isn't that precious? How can that happen? Because that's instilled. The mother spent enough time with him to say, this is the way it's going to go down, but it's going to be all right. I'm going to make you a coat every year, and I'm going to come see you and love on you, but you belong to God, and I promise the Lord that, and baby, it's going to be okay. Wow. Instead of crying and dragging, on his mama's shirt tail, he accepts because the mother guided him into this relationship. Friends, these kids that are raised to go to hell, somebody helped them get there. The mother didn't do her work in the home. And of course the dad, he should have, he should have stood his ground too and helped that mama. Yeah. In Proverbs chapter 31 and verse number 30, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Mama, hang in there. God's got a great reward for you. You're doing something that ain't no man can do. Ever. Hang in there. Do your part, and sir, do your part. And God brings that together as a way that he chose from the beginning. He calls it family. Don't you love that? It's precious. This woman's going to be praised. She shall be praised. Look at Matthew 15 and 28. This is a real touching story to me, and we don't have time to read it all, but this Syrophoenician woman comes to Christ and talks to him. And if you back up to about verse 20, maybe 25. I didn't write it down, but look at verse 25. Look at 23. She comes to him and she tells him this story. My daughter is at home and she is greatly afflicted by the devil. She's demon possessed. And look at the answer that Christ gave her. You know what the word shun means? That's what's going on here. But it was a reason because Christ tells her why. He answered her not a word. Can you imagine a mother's petition when she's crying out that hard and saying, God, please? And the Lord just walks on just like you're not there. That's pretty incredible. But this mama has got some tenacity that's uncommon. She goes to the 12 disciples and she wears them out until they come to Jesus and they said, Jesus, would you please send this woman away? She is wearing us out. She crieth after us. And so, does she quit? Look at this next verse. Yeah, here he answers her. He answered and said unto her, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So when his disciples won't say nothing to her but get away from me, he looks at her and this is his first answer. I'm just sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. How many can tell the difference between Russia and America? It's that drastic. Israel is the chosen people of God. The rest of them are Gentiles. That's what you and I are. We were just grafted in. That hadn't happened yet. And so he said, I'm just sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You don't even belong in this equation, girl. He was just right out front. He answered and said, I'm not sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Look at this next step. And I mean, I love this mama. I love this mama. Then came she and worshiped him. Whoa. Woo! Instead of saying, what's the deal? No, she just comes and loves on Jesus and worships him, saying, Lord, help me. Help me. You know what she's doing? That girl's at home that's got no help. That baby of mine. I love my baby, and I can stand any kind of ridicule or shunning. My baby is going to get her healing before I leave today. Woo! You talk about putting some guidance out there, provided. So she hangs on. So here she is worshiping the Lord, and she finally says, Lord, help me. Who can turn that down? Here comes Jesus back. I mean, he lays it on again. But he answered and said unto her, it is not right, it's not meet to take the children's bread. It's not right to take Israel's bread and to give it to the Gentiles who are dogs. That's a man. A woman Gentile is less than a dog in those days. Are you still out there? Yeah, this is before women's lib. He answered and said, it is not me to take the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs. But this girl, she's not backing up. She's still got that baby at home that is demon possessed, and she takes the ridicule. Whoa! Don't you love this mother? Yeah. Here's a mother on call, friends. I mean, I'm not giving up. That's her deal. Look at the next one. And she said, truth, Lord, you're right. I know I'm a dog. But look what the dogs do. Don't the dogs eat at the master's, the crumbs? The crumbs from the master's table? Whoa! All of a sudden, this guiding spirit gets on Jesus. Whoa! Said, I'm bringing, you've never seen my baby, but Lord, she's home. She's sick. She's demon possessed. And I'm crying out to you. I don't want Israel's blessing. I just want the crumbs that's fallen from the master's table. She don't have to win the whatever. Just let her live a normal life. Drive this demon out of my baby's body. Woo! And Jesus said something to her that's incredible. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. And look at his words. You don't belong in this deal. It's before your time. But you have gotten in through the cracks, girl. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole that very hour. Oh, please, mamas, don't give up guiding your children and giving them the hope of tomorrow. Wow. I remember one time, I've told this story lots of times, but I mean, when I think about my mama, this is one of those crucial times in my life. Well, there was a couple of them, but I guess the first one that really got me was she had given me a spanking. That's before they outlawed corporal punishment. And so whenever she walked away, well, I was behind the door and I stuck my tongue out. And what I didn't know, there was a crack between the door, and Mama's watching me through the crack. And if you think corporal punishment's bad today, you ought to have seen it back then. I was like Carl Taylor. She might not have drove the devil out from me, but she sure did discourage him. Hey, that's one time Mama looked me over and said, "Oh no, that don't live in this world." Friends, well, why should your child fall down and kick and curse? Little children kicking, that ain't the baby's fault. That's that mama. That's a mama that didn't give her guidance at the house. Said, "Oh no, you don't live like that around here. No, you got your mama, and I'm going to wear your little britches out." Yeah, come on, I love when you shout now. Yeah, come on. You ain't going to do that away. No, that's bad. And so, you know what? That's the last time I ever stuck my tongue out at my mama. I was even afraid to do it if I was outside. But you know, something happens when you grow up. I mean, I'm like 13 now, and Mama's going to give me a whooping. And I thought, man, I've been grown since I was 9. What do you mean? Whoop me now? So she spanked on me a little bit, you know, and so I just like, just go ahead. I just let her whoop me. Just get after it. I didn't say it, but my posture. Yeah. Your posture towards your mother, buddy. If you don't have one that'll beat the Pharaoh out of you, you need one. If you can look at your mother and treat her like a dog, hell will catch you as sure as you'll breathe in air. The Lord said a man or a child that mouths off to his mother, that the eagles of the valley will come pluck his eyes out. That's in Proverbs. It's not a light thing to treat. I don't care how bad your mother was. She raised you or you wouldn't be here. And it's not a perfect world for any of us. I'm not saying my mom was perfect, but she's been right more times than not. And so I'm standing there, you know, a big old man in a little bit. She just threw the belt down and got her a clothes hanger. And that's when they built the good ones. That's a piece of wire. I hung on as long as I could, but in a little bit I said, "Wow!" Wow! Mama, let me tell you, you can make a difference if you stand up for what's right. Now, if you're crooked, your kids are going to be just like you. If they make it to heaven, it's nothing but the grace of God. Mama, provide the guidance your family needs. You're on call. There's not a day or an hour that you're not on call. Give no wiggle to the lostness. Whoa, let me tell you, the next time Mama spanked me, I could start crying right when she started. Yeah. Submission. Provided guidance. These little old kids like Samuel and Moses, they didn't grow up without somebody saying no and meaning it. You want to know why our prisons are full? I was raised when there was one prison in Texas, and it was Huntsville. And it wasn't full. Friends, most of those kids had a daddy. They're afraid to go to jail. If they did, they're afraid to come home. Okay. Yeah, I know. We're mistreating them. We gotta. Let me tell you, I thank God for every time Mama got a hold of me and my daddy. I didn't live on whippings, but they come regular enough. They discourage some of that goofiness. In Matthew chapter 15 and verse number 28, Jesus so graciously speaks to this woman, "O woman, great is thy faith." And this woman of faith, not a dad, but a mom, holds on to Jesus until her daughter is healed. The same hour that Jesus says, "Oh woman, great is thy faith." I mean, she kept ringing the bell until God said, "Yes, yes, yes." That very moment, her daughter was healed. And she's not even in the presence of her mother, but she is in the presence of God Almighty. Woo! Don't you know that demon said, "How'd this happen?" As a praying mama changed the course of that baby's life. And the third thing I want to talk to you about, and I'm not even trying to hurry, friends. I don't know. My mom's 94. I feel real blessed that she's alive. I'm proud. And moms, I want to say I thank you. Maybe you hadn't been a perfect mother, but what about starting out today and said, I'm going to be better. As a dad, I know this is not Father's Day, but as a dad, I'd like to do better. Yeah, it can happen. The third thing she started with providing protection for this baby. She provided guidance. Thirdly, she provided doctrine. Friends, doctrine is a way more than what you say about the Bible. It's the way you live it. If you say and do not, your child's going to be the same way, just like you. If you gripe every time you have to go to church, I'll promise you, your children will grow up the same way. My mama got us ready when Daddy come in out of the field. I mean, boom. We got in that car and took off for church. That's when I was just a little feller. That was like, man, I didn't know you could miss it. Sister Nord Elder, did you ever miss church just because you wanted to? No! Did you ever take that old man on the end of the seat there? Did you ever take him with you to church? All the time! She had to drag him part of the time, but come on now, how come? This mother said, it don't matter no different what you got to say. You go, Mama. I went to WM Council. That's women's, they call it WMCs back then. What are you doing there? Because my mama went. That's what. I was 3 years old. Yeah, I can still remember it. No, I didn't cut up. You didn't feed me no donut or nothing, buddy. I was sitting there like you moved. Okay, all right, yeah. I'm trying to help you. Come on now. What about this provided doctrine? What is doctrine anyway, friends? Doctrine is what you live off of. It's what you live by. It's the standard of your relationship between you and your child and you and God. Don't give it no slack. Doctrine is a must. We got to have it. Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 23. Now here is a child that's been indoctrinated by his mother. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. The next verse. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused. He's up in years now. He's not a baby. He's grown. He's made that 21 or 35, but something strange comes out of this boy's life. I mean, he's a high roller. He's an Egyptian of Egyptians. It's a Hebrew. He's in the king's house. He's been cultured. I mean, taught everything that the kings know. And look at him. The Bible says he'd done something. This is strange. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. You want to know what happened to him? His mother indoctrinated him. That however long you live, you'll never be an Egyptian. You'll never belong to the courts of Pharaoh. Whatever happens to you, young Moses, you got to know this, that your mama told you you was born an Israelite of the tribe of Levi. And one of these days, this group of people is going to live Egyptian bondage and they're going to the promised land. Woo! She indoctrinated him. And in the doing, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. I heard a gentleman some time ago, he was the superintendent of the South Assemblies of God district. And he made this was the sermon he preached was, she's not my mama. Well, friends, I'll tell you what, we need to own what really belongs to us. His name is Jesus. What a difference is made there. Notice what it says. Number one, no fear of the king's command because they recognize the voice of one greater. His name was Jehovah. Secondly, in verse 24, Moses refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. She's not my mama. He says that. What a strange trait. And thirdly, in verse 25 of Hebrews 11, he chose suffering over pleasure. What's wrong with this guy? He's been indoctrinated. He's headed to do what God has called him to do, and he's not backing down on what the Lord spoke into his life. In verse number 26, here's something that's so incredible. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches. He says, I don't care what they call me or what they say. I belong to the Israeli culture, the Israeli people. Jochebed, a Levite woman, is my mama, and I'm hanging on to that. For he had respect unto the recompense of reward. That one of these days, the reward for living for God is going to make its payment. Friends, Jesus is coming back. And Mom, if your children make it to heaven, you'll have a decisive decision in their life. Hang on to it. Give them your best shot. Hang on to them for the Lord. Moses dies at 120 years of age. He's buried by God. Even the devil, according to Jude, could not find him. He tried to find his remains where he could destroy it. But the devil couldn't find his remains. God had buried him. He goes down as one of Israel's greatest leaders and is known in Scripture as the friend of God. And Jochebed, his mother, was highly influential in his accomplishments because she protected him, she guided him, and she indoctrinated him. Would you stand with me this morning? I'm going to ask, and because of what's going on in our world today, I would like to ask every mama and every woman and every teenage young lady and every little girl, I would like to pray over you today, every one of you. If you would come and stand here this morning, we're going to gather around behind you. And we want to pray for the moms.